It's 104.3 Myfm with Jon Comouche, and I'm sitting here with Lukas Graham. First of all, happy late birthday.
Thank you.
Oh, my gosh.
I spent most of my birthday in airports and airplanes going here.
Really?
It was very unnerving
This
leaving.
specifically? This one?
Just for you.
I love it. Oh, my God.
Leaving on my birthday at like 9 in the morning, and then I touch down, and it's only noon. It's still my birthday. It's a very long birthday.
So were you like on a plane, in an airport, or all of the above for your birthday?
All of the above.
Not the most ideal thing, I feel like.
I would say, I got to like sleep on the plane. I read a bit in my book. Someone served me food. I think it's a pretty... People have worse birthdays.
That's true. That's true.
Like,
I mean, everyone's, I guess, kind of working on their birthdays still. But what do you ask for on your birthday these days? Like, is there anything you still want, or is it...
Yeah, a friend of mine kept asking me because I had my birthday party on Friday, and my friends were asking me, and I go, look at my kids and my very intelligent wife. I have everything.
I hate to say it, this is the most dad answer.
Yeah.
Like, this,
'Cause,
every dad says that, you know?
I think it's also because where I am in my life, like business-wise, like financial freedom-wise, it's like the things that I want, I went and got them, you know? And I mean... I like my friends to show up and have a good time, eat some good food. We had like a big pizza party at my house, and it was, it was everything I could have wanted. And which is also a very dad thing to say.
Totally, yeah. Do you think it's the dad that changes that mentality, or do you think it's just the age itself?
Well, I have no clue how to answer that. I think it's a mix of having like these kids. It's like when a 6-year-old is like, "Dad, I love you." I was like, I can have a bad day, and then my daughter would be like laying next to me in bed when I'm reading a story, and she'd like grab my arm and be like, "Dad, you're so strong." It's like these words and things you're being told that just touch you so deeply in your soul that who could buy me something that gives me that kind of satisfaction? But then I did get a new backpack from my parents-in-law, and the one I had for like 11 years or like a decade, I guess. I was very happy to change that out because it was falling apart.
Right. That's good to hear, because I feel like I'm in my late 20s. I'm like 28 now, like getting closer to 30. And I don't know, there's something kind of scary about that 30 number. You know what I mean?
Why?
I don't know. I think it's everyone just kind of places fear on that number. And I don't really know where it comes from. Maybe just because the quote unquote best years of your life are over, the youth of your life. But like, I don't know. The more people I meet who just cross that line are like, that's not so bad.
I asked my granny when she was 88. I'm in her sitting room. She just died in 2020, 95 years old, right?
Oh, my gosh.
So I asked her, she was 88, 89, and I go, "Hey, Gran, when was the best time of your life?" And she looked at me as if I was stupid, right? She'd buried 2 kids, one as a 1-year-old, and my dad when he was 61. She buried her husband, all of her siblings, right? And she goes, like, puts the crossword down, like, and looks at me as if I'm stupid. Goes, "The best time of my life is now." And I go, like, "Why?" And then she just said, "Because it has to be. There is one time of your life, and it is what you have right now, and it's always going to be the moment." And I was just sitting there.
I'm getting chills. Right
I was completely dumbfounded, because I guess she's completely right.
Right.
But I didn't have 2 kids and a nice house, and like things weren't really in order at that moment in my life. I think it was a year before my oldest kid was born, and then. Now, it really does make sense, because I was asked earlier today in an interview, like, something about changing things. And I said, I might go back and try something twice, but I don't think I want to change anything.
I think that's the best way to look at it. I feel like that's like a quote I want to see. Like, the best time of your life should be now, no matter how old you get.
Oh, completely.
She seems like full of wisdom.
Oh, she was a very, very clever woman. Like,
she'd
all the game shows on TV. Like, I would like, why don't you join these, like, game shows and win $1 million? Like, she never answered any questions wrong. She's just like, an answer, and you'd be like, "Oh my God, is this the answer?" And it was always the answer.
Just taking in information and just had it on deck. It's crazy to see life kind of go by that fast. I was thinking of the first time I went to one of your shows. It was probably, I think it was like 2016. So it's been a while the last time I went to a show of yours. And it was right after 7 Things had come out. And so I started looking back on that time, and I looked at the year, and I was like, 7 Things is now 7 years old.
It's 7 years old.
That is crazy.
It's a very weird thing. Also, I get the question of, like, what's the most life-changing song you've ever heard? And I was like, I wrote that song. I wrote the most life-changing song to my life, at least. And, like, I hadn't traveled the world, and I had no children, and there was no, like, huge international success when I wrote that song. And then I wrote 7 years, released it, and everything kind of fell into place after that. And, yeah.
It's almost like you're following your own advice, kind of.
Basically, yeah. But at the end of the day, like, it's probably just my grandma's advice I put into that song anyway.
And maybe her advice was someone else's advice before. You know what I mean? I think that's the beauty of...
It's the pay it forward motion.
Exactly. And now you have this new song, which is a smash, Wish You Were Here. So it's got Khalid and Ryan Tedder on it. And my first question is, what is it like to songwrite with someone like Ryan Tedder?
Very fun.
Really?
I mean, I'm a very wordy writer, and Ryan is a very rhythmic and melodic writer.
Okay.
And it was funny, like the way he would like adjust melodies or be like, no, the rhythm needs to be here. And where I would maybe more think about, but what are we saying?
Right, the lyrics part of it.
And he's very much in like, but how are we saying it? And I'm sure he's wordier with other types of writers, but then with me, he kind of let me do the word part. Wow. Tongue twisted. And then halfway through the writing, he goes, you know what, maybe I'll call a friend to see if he wants to feature on this. You can do this on your own. You sound great on... I didn't know what friend it was. It was like, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And he's like, I'm going to call a friend. And then he hits me up, and like Khalid heard the song, loved it, wanted to jump on it, and he ended up flying to Denmark and spent a few nights in Copenhagen. We went to my studio, did the whole thing there. And went.
He flew all the way to you?
Yeah, he was in Europe for some shows and stuff. And I think just post-pandemic, I was texting him like, so should I fly to LA and we'll do it? And he was like, I'm coming to Copenhagen.
Oh, wow.
Like, I'm done with this. I need to see some new places.
What is the first thought on your mind when you hear Khalid is going to be the feature on your track?
I was just thinking how well it was going to sound, because I've heard so much of his stuff. And our voices are very, very unlike each other. Mm-hmm. And that can often bring about huge magic.
I've always kind of wondered this, when you're songwriting with someone and you kind of have many different ideas going into a song, but someone like you who songwrites from a very personal level, and I feel like you bring a lot of your individual life and your honesty into those lyrics. So when you have an idea of what you want a song to be about, and then you go in a writer's room and you kind of start hearing different ideas that weren't originally what you wanted that song to be about, what is it like kind of trying to find this new meaning of a song and like battling what you thought it was with new opinions while still like holding on to it as your song? Does that make sense?
I think trust the process is the most important thing to say there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the right song will emerge. I mean, there are plenty of ways to write the wrong song, but it's like a songwriting and a song is kind of like water. It'll find the path it's supposed to find, and it'll end up where it's supposed to end up, regardless of how much you struggle against it.
Right.
And I mean, if you're holding on to a rope and someone pulls real hard, that's going to hurt your hand. If you just let go, you'll be fine. And I think it's the same with songwriting. You need to lean into it. Because we started writing Wish You Were Here from the perspective of me missing my dad and missing like friends that stopped being friends because they were like bad people or whatever. And then we listen back and Ryan's like, this sucks. And I completely agreed with him. And I think the honesty, because he's taken a chance at being like, oh, these verses suck, knowing that they mean something to me. But I was in total agreement. He's
not attacking what sucks. He's attacking the way it's being described.
He's not. Well, and he's not even attacking me.
Right.
It's just words on a piece of paper, and it might have been a piece of my heart when I wrote it. But you have to have the capacity to distance yourself from your work sometimes. And we agreed that this should be an anthem to the living friends we don't get to see as much as we would like.
Mm-hmm. When you're singing that song, do you still sometimes picture your dad, like as you're kind of working through the emotions of it?
Actually, no.
Really?
I picture some of my really good friends that have flown out and met me in the world, and I think of like the place I grew up in. I live 2 blocks away from where I grew up, and like I get to hang out with a lot of the guys I went to kindergarten with.
I think that's cool to hear, and I think a lot of artists say that sometimes when you come out with a song, they'll say that sometimes it's no longer your song. You know what I mean? It's kind of whatever it means to the person. And hearing that song, I kind of knew that you'd lost your dad as well, and I lost my dad when I was young. So, like, that was the first thought that came to my mind. And I was like, this is such a powerful song, and it's something that I can kind of relate to. You know what I mean? And it was cool to hear because I guess what it made me wonder for you is when you do think about your dad as you're writing the song, right? When you wish that person is in the moment here with you now, do you wish you could have seen these accomplishments? Do you think you would have gotten to where you're at now had he not passed?
So the answer to that question is it becomes a little weird, because had he not died at the age of 61 when I was 23 in 2012, would I have married the girl I married and had the kids I had? I wouldn't have written the songs I wrote that brought me this international success. So the whole idea of him being able to watch the international success becomes void.
Right. I think that's so...
I guess.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
It's like
That's cool to hear, because I wondered that while thinking about this song, because for me, like, I always like, I wish, now that I'm on the radio and stuff, like, I wish my dad could have seen that. But I think a lot of the reason that I chased this lifestyle in the first place was because of that. You know what I mean? Was because of those hardships that kind of make you want to make something of the pain. You know what I mean? So I thought that was interesting, and I wondered if you kind of felt the same way.
I know that my dad was like a huge catalyst in me pursuing music and writing songs professionally and not just finishing my law degree.
Right.
And he got to see a certain amount of it. Like, he got me to see performing like in like Danish outdoor festivals in front of thousands of people, and he was at my first showcases in like Stockholm, Oslo, Berlin, and Hamburg, Amsterdam, London. Yeah. And like
so you got to see it.
He came and like sold merchandise at some shows when Mary, the merchandise girl, got sick, and it was like I wasn't visiting my dad at work. I was bringing my dad with me to work.
Right.
And in that sense, he got to see a lot of it. He just didn't get to see a show in Dublin with the whole family. He didn't get to see me perform like the Wiltern Sold Out. But then again, the big international success came with a song like 7 Years that was written, not inspired by my father's death, but the fact that my father's death is in it in a certain way probably made the song more relatable to a large part of the population all over the place.
And I think the honesty with songs like this is kind of why the songs have taken off, but also, dude, your TikTok has taken off too. And it's weird that it's become this new aspect of like being an artist. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like pushed on artists, and sometimes it seems challenging for an artist to adapt. But you seem to have taken that platform and run with it.
But imagine releasing or like being a musician when recording songs becomes a thing. And suddenly you have to think of, but I can't ever redo this. Once it's recorded on the single record, it's going to be out there forever. Or radio starts, and then you have to decide whether or not you want to do an interview and talk about stuff and not just do shows and record your albums or singles as it was. Right. So I think then push it into TV. It's like there's always going to be a new barrier to explore. And as artists, I think Ryan said it so well. He goes, evolve or die, right?
Right, yeah.
And I don't know. If you don't like doing the content, you're going to basically just lose to people who do it because they think it's fun. Right. It's like, I would be writing songs. If no one was listening, I'd still be writing songs. I'd like play at little clubs or go to the jazz club and do some jamming with the guys or whatever. And I think it's the same thing with the social media thing. If you don't enjoy it, don't do it. But also know that with that comes there's a price to that. Yeah. And there's so many people that don't listen to radio and who don't watch TV and who don't want to go and like YouTube search for new artists. They're going to be on TikTok or on Instagram, and they're going to see a reel or they're going to see a video. They're going to see someone put a piece of music to some fun moment of their life and be like, oh, what does that song sound like when I get to hear the whole thing? And if you're just not going to reach those people, it's like me saying I don't want to come here and talk to you because I could be creative in my studio and not go and do this interview. Yeah.
And you enjoy the video part then? You do enjoy making those videos?
If I don't feel it's fun, I don't want to do it.
Because it looks like you do. Yeah.
But I mean, I will have days where not a chance in hell I'm going to go and do a TikTok. Like, I'll have days where like my daughter needs me or she's sick or like she just broke her arm like 6 weeks ago. And there was a couple of days where it's like, I don't feel up to doing all this stuff. I have to go to the hospital, get a cast on my daughter's arm, and all these things.
But I know you're writing music as well, but there are some days I'm sure you just don't want to write music. You know, so it's probably the same.
There are days when I show up to a planned writing session and it just becomes talking, having coffee, eating lunch, and going home.
And that's it today. Yeah.
I mean, you can't squeeze a lemon all the time, I guess. I don't even know if that's a saying. But it's like there's so and so much juice in each lemon. Right. And sometimes you just need to water the tree.
Yeah, no, I get you. So what's coming next? What's the next thing you're excited about doing?
I'm going to fly back home on Friday because my daughter's turning 6 this weekend.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's, to me, it's a big thing. To be there on my children's birthdays. I'm not there on my own birthday, as you can hear.
But you've had plenty of those.
I'm often not there on my wife's birthday. I think I've been to 2 of my sister's birthday in the last 10 years. Like, my kids' birthdays, they're like the only... My kids' birthdays and Christmas Eve, those 3 dates.
Are the 3 priorities now
like
when it comes to...
That's what I get to block out of my calendar. Otherwise, Michelle basically gets to pull me anywhere she wants. No, and I mean, Christmas is coming up. I know it's in a long time, but in Denmark, it's a really, really big thing. It almost starts mid-October.
Yeah, so you got to get working on it. I hear you. Dude, well, I know you're very busy and you had to fly all the way out here. I do appreciate you making time in your schedule.
Just for you. You know, I had nothing to do this entire week.
Look, I'm going to hold you to that. If I see another interview anywhere, I'm going to be upset.
Okay. It wasn't just for you, but mainly...
I'll share.
I didn't say that in the other interviews, though. You can check for that.
No, all right. I'll take that. I'll take that.
So someone remind me not to say it in the later interviews, too.
Yeah, we got that in here. Yeah. Well, dude, thank you so much. It was so good to meet you. Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Lukas Graham, guys.